Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
A Time for Truth show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard, you don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart, yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to A Time for Truth show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and it's a pleasure to be back with you again tonight. Let's do some housekeeping first, because many of you have been asking, how do I avail myself of all these past episodes the last 6 years? Very simple. Go on YouTube, select the Time for Truth show, click the subscribe button. We'd love to have you as our members. There's no fee, and you can help us bring truth to our world, which is the goal of our group, A Time for Truth Foundation. And tonight, we're going to do a show which will help with maybe a dream that you had, that you thought, well, it's never going to happen. Or maybe something that you wanted to create. Maybe it was something that you wanted to do physically with yourself. Or you wanted to paint. Or possibly you wanted to start a business. Or get a different relationship. But it just seemed like it was never going to happen. But tonight we're going to start on a series of shows, actually, which have to do with accomplishing, whether it's a business, an enterprise, or a relationship, because really the principles are similar, and how to obtain this. So we're going to start with those pictures of the program that we're going to introduce you to. And the first one is going to be, what do I do to start something new in my life, in the community that I live in? We call it a startup business. Could be a relationship. Maybe you've had difficulty in relationships and you make a new start. You want to turn a new leaf in your relationships, whether it be as a couple or maybe just with friends or in clubs. You can apply it to all these different aspects of your life. And the problems as they relate more to a business have to do with money, have to do with time, have to do with your employees or the people that you're relating with. And, you're distinguishing yourself. If it's a relationship, you want to be, attractive. If it's your business, you want to separate yourselves from the competitor. And so, what other problems exist? Well, let's list them out. And this is a series of shows we'll be doing, but we'll start out with this tonight. You have economic problems, funding, cash flow. It seems like there's very little you can do in this world if you have no cash, if you have no liquidity. And so you need access to that liquidity. Sometimes you need access to loans. But in order to get a loan and obtain the credit, it has to be high. You have to have a good history. You have to have produced a certain amount in the past. You go, well, it's a vicious cycle. How do I ever break the cycle? Because I can't get, the capital I want. I can't get the loans. My credit score is low. What do I do? And you're starting to run out of cash. You're starting to get nervous, anxious. Maybe you're not sleeping as well as you could. And you want, if you're in a business, you want to manage not the burn of the gasoline, but the burn of your reserves, those monies that you need to pay your employees, to pay the rent, to pay the insurance, to pay the marketing that you want to do online or on the internet, you know. And in the long run, you have to pay also for yourself because you have to live. Pay your rent, your mortgage, your car insurance. And so we want to manage that burn rate, that rate at which our cash, our liquidity decreases. And if we're talking about a business, you can't just automatically raise your fees because you'll price yourself out of the market. So how do you set an adequate fee? And as I said, how do you manage this rate? So you say, well, I'm going to manage the burn rate because I'm going to renegotiate. But obviously in your community, probably a lot of people are renegotiating. Will say, well, I'm going to reduce my discretionary spending. But more than likely, you've done a decent job at it. Maybe there's a few odds and ends that you could cut down on. But is that really going to be the solution? You could say, well, I'm going to maximize revenue because I'm going to sell more, which I think you would have done by now if you could have done that, because I'm sure you've been trying. So where is this magic going to suddenly come from? How are we going to change what has been the prevailing, routine, what's been happening in your business? And we say, well, I'm having problems with my customers. Too many people around me and they're better at it. I think I'm going to retire. So your solution is starting to seem like you're going to leave. But unfortunately, retirement is not a panacea, and it brings with it many other hidden factors that weren't really visible or evident to you at that point. I've seen so many of my friends retire. They don't retire to anything, and they get sick. And it seems what they retire to is constant visits to their health practitioner. And I don't think that's really what they envisioned when they thought of what they wanted to retire to. So how do you stand out from your competitors? How do you get back that, that ego or that enthusiasm, that verb that you used to have, so that you can go back and compete in this game in your community? And how you stop losing your customers and gain new customers? Because it seems like all you're surrounded by are constant headaches, as you see here, and you're not sleeping well. Maybe you're overeating, you've gained some weight, so now you're a little stressed out, and it's not going in the direction that you want. Your image is going down, not up. So how do we get to the ideal scene? And you see here the ideal scene on the right, and you have what we started with on the left. So how do we get a higher level where we have the economic resources so we can be happier emotionally? Because there's something that's important to realize is that production, like if you go to the gym and you have good production at the gym, you do more repetitions, or maybe you do a little bit faster, or at the end you have energy. Well, that production gives you a morale, and that morale gives you a different emotion. You've elevated your emotion. You've released endorphins, which are the body's innate, endogenous, inborn hormones, which make you feel happy because you've produced. You've done something valuable for your survival. It's very interesting how nature is that way. So as you produce, your ideal scene will get better because your emotion goes up. Your emotion goes up, so you communicate better with people because you like people better, because you're in a better mood. And so how do you get there? You say, well, that's great, Dr. Fialkoff, but how do I get there? Okay, so let's go to the series of steps. If what you've been doing hasn't been working, we've got to change what we're doing. If we're going to continue the same habits, the results are going to be the same. Just merely desiring it or blaming it on that there's so much competition doesn't lead to a solution. It doesn't seem like that would really be the why of what's going on, because if other people came in your area and started increasing, then there must be a reason why they did and you didn't, or you were decreasing. So you've got to take a look and you've got to survey. If you're in the middle of a disaster or a fire, you want to survey, where's the fire? How fast is it moving? Where are the safe areas? Is there anything I need to do to salvage something? Where are my friends? Or if in your business, where's the fire extinguisher? And you survey it. You'd make sure the firemen were coming, that the police was going to help you. But you'd survey. You'd be very aware of what was happening in your surroundings. And a survey is a very important tool that lets you find out what your potential customers desire, what they want, what they will purchase from you. And a survey will help you find out what do those same people consider a problem. Because you could think of a great idea and you say, wow, I'm going to make this specific thing and it's going to help the cell phones to operate better. But maybe you thought it was a great idea, but that's not a problem for those people. So we've got to really survey and look and ask the people that we're actually contemplating as our clients, our customers, and see what are the problems that they're facing in their lives. Not necessarily from some article you read, because they may be trying to sell you something. Not necessarily from some newspaper or media, because those aren't people. And sometimes information is suspect. In today's world, it seems like there's many self-interest, and the information you receive may be trying to lead you down a path where someone else is trying to enforce on you something that you would want and need, but you're basing it on false information. So what you want to do is really get to your prospective customers with a survey of questions. What would they like to change in their life? What is wasting their time? What would they like to have, or is there something financial that they'd like to obtain? Why is it they want to obtain that? So you find out what is it really that they're trying to get? What is their goal? And what are the things stopping them? Because now you're going to find out their barriers. You're going to find out the things that are impeding them from moving forward. And a survey will do that for you. And with that survey now, you quantify what the responses are to find out what are the responses that are the majority. And for those problems, those barriers, those areas impeding those people's lives that you're trying to make your customers, now you tailor your product on what you wanted to do, but you tailor it to that need and want. And very, very important. And how do you do that? Well, you do it by communicating. And it's very important in this diagram because sometimes we forget that life, we're exchanging with other people. Someone who really does well is in tremendous communication with so many people that if they post something on Facebook, they get all these likes or they have all these viewers. But what is that really adding up to? It's adding up to how many people want to be in rapport, in communication with that person, that entity, or that product. So when we communicate, it's very important, and you see this little diagram that we placed on the screen. You see the arrows, the man and the woman, and they have the thoughts in each mind, and they see each other in their minds. Those are their thoughts. So they have a common reality. and they're there in the room, and they're communicating, and they're paying attention to each other. Too much in the world today, we don't pay attention. So if we don't pay attention, how does that make the other person feel? Are we making them important? Are they really even important? Probably you've thought of times you went back to your house, and whether you're the husband or the wife, or the man or the woman, or you're engaged, or you're just boyfriend and girlfriend, and you go in, and you're so fed up with your day, you come in and you don't even say hello to your partner. And an explosion ensues because there was no attention given. There was no interest given to that person. Not interest for you, but interest for them. And because of that, they feel a little invalidated. They don't feel acknowledged. Maybe they had a rough day too, and they need to acknowledge too in turn. But we want to look at this proactively, because we want to look at what we're going to do to change things so that things maneuver in the right direction for us. We're going to guide them in a different direction. So we have to change what we've been doing because it hasn't been working. We can't do the same old, same old. So we communicate. And we communicate to really have attention on that person and find out what is it that they're really feeling. That's part of your survey. Now we're getting to a personal survey. The other survey you can conduct possibly online with a questionnaire. You could email it. You could put it on your Facebook, your Instagram, and hopefully you'd get responses. You could give it to a marketing agency, but you'd want to do a survey. But we want to do the same thing now with your personal contacts, because you may have right around you very important people that will influence your product without needing a marketing company. One of them happens to be your partner, because I can guarantee you, if you're having problems in your relationship, you're not going to be a happy person. You're going to be stressed up a little bit or stressed out. And what's going to happen, you're not going to function as well with your clients, with your customers, and with other vendors that you have to interact with. So one of the most important reasons to realize that you should give the attention, give the interest to the other person, and ask them. You're not going to formally survey them, but you are surveying them. You want to, how was your day? How did it go? And they're going to give you their problems. And they're going to talk about their problems. And then you can listen to them and acknowledge them so that you don't have to solve it. They can just really just let it out and release this negative energy they have. And in the end, you're going to get it all back. Because once you do that, you make them happy. Remember that you've produced. So you've produced, so you're happy. And what you produce is another human being who's happy, who will in turn give you something. Not everything has to be financial. There are many things we receive as human beings that are very valuable. Those are their emotions. And they give us positive emotions and positive energy that comes back to you. And the Surgeon General has shown that our country is lacking that social interaction. Realize that he showed scientifically that acknowledgement you get socially is very valuable emotionally, mentally, and physically for your physical health, and obviously for your business too. So now, when you deal with people, you have to realize they have all these different emotions. And if you take someone who's very angry and you listen to them, don't go listen to them and say, oh, it wasn't so bad, because you're making them wrong. They're angry about their day. Let them be angry. Doesn't matter what they're saying. They're probably going to say things that aren't necessarily true. But as long as you listen, then they're going to be happy. Actually, with an angry person, if you wanted to know what to do, be angry with them. Be antagonistic about the problem, not at them, because that would be against them and they would be your enemy in a game or in the football field or in a boxing match. No, with them. As if you were their boxing manager, as if you were their teammate, and be angry at the enemy. And the enemy was their problem, the problems they've had during the day, and listen to them and say, how did this go? And how did that go? And work with them on their emotions. What will happen as you do that, you'll get more agreement. And when you get more agreement, something magical occurs. You start talking more, and all of a sudden, the person may even start to laugh. And what was an explosive situation, you've totally defused, and you have something different in front of you. This could be in your business. This could be with a vendor who was really upset with you, with the last service that you provided. It could be with a client, if you're an attorney, if you're an accountant, if you're a surgeon like me. You have to listen. And sometimes what you hear may not be totally the case, but it's their viewpoint. And that will go very far in solving your problem. Once we've done that survey and we found out what's happened, what have we done? We've applied a tool called the non-existence formula that you see on the screen. This non-existence formula, which was developed by a man named Hubbard, has 4 steps. The first one is to find out how you're going to communicate whatever it is, or whoever it is, or whatever it is that you need to communicate with. And once you do that, if it's a live human being, and you find the person, the vendor, the client, the woman or man that you want to have a relationship with, and you find that way of communicating, the next thing you do is you introduce yourself. And you say, hi, I'm Charlie Smith, and I run a printing business. I wanted to ask you, which is now the 3rd step, are you having any difficulties with your printing? Is the printing causing you any problems? Are there disappointments you've had with the previous printing? Are there things you'd like to do in the future that maybe nobody sees that you think would be possible? What are you doing? You're now asking them, what is it they want? What is it that they need? What problems are they trying to solve? What future goals do they envision? And they're going to go into really good rapport with you because you've given them attention and your interest level on something that's important to them. And if you're sincere and you really, really listen to them with attention, not on your cell phone, not speaking to somebody else at the same time, then they're going to really voice honestly because sometimes what you get is not the whole truth, you get pieces. But if they really see that you're sincere and that you're really asking because you're interested, they'll tell you the truth. They'll tell you the actuality. And now you become much closer to them. Once you've done that, now is the time where you don't try to sell them something. You produce, or you do, or you present to them what they asked for. If it was a different kind of printing, you say to them, I'm going to send you a sample of what we can do for you. Maybe you don't even charge them the first time. You want to really show them something. So you present them a sample. Maybe you send them some kind of email that addresses what they wanted with an offer from you. Or maybe right on the spot you say, you know what, I'm going to help you with that. Is it okay if I do blah, blah, blah? The choice is yours, and survey what you do. The survey is very important. Survey how fast you're going to go, because your instinct, your intuition is very important. Never question it. Each one of us has instinct and intuition that's usually correct. We only get in problem when we violate it. So don't violate it. Use that instinct and survey how quickly you go on what they need and want, and how you're going to produce it, how you're going to present it, whether you're going to have them buy a service, maybe you're going to do something introductory for them, and really make a very solid relationship with that person. So, once you've done that, now what's happened is kind of like you're looking down. You're not inside of the problem anymore. You're no longer thinking of all the problems you've had with your business, with your relationships, because you've extroverted a little bit. Why have you extroverted? Because you've given of yourself. You've helped. You've been humanitarian, you could say. And when you do that, it's very interesting. that you start extroverting. You start coming out of the problems that had you embroiled. Because a problem has to have one purpose versus another. And the problem exists in between. The cell phone is a problem between this push and that push. But when you eliminate your push, the cell phone drops. The problem goes away, and the other person or the other problem entity says, wow, something changed. Something did change. It's like when you find your keys that were lost. Something disappears. And when you give to other people, you're not creating against them. When you really listen to them, they see that you're with them, the problems disappear. And when the problems disappear, you're now free to look and survey again. But not to do something mechanical, but to improve some aspect of your business, of your life. And to be like this picture you see with a man up above, looking over his life, his business, his community, and actually helping, and actually getting involved, and getting in return what the Surgeon General had said we're suffering from in our country. Dr. Vivek Murthy, U.S. Surgeon General, said we're suffering from an epidemic of isolation and loneliness. So by applying these principles, you'll solve that in your own life, and you'll become an example for your community. Your business will be desired. Say, wow, that business, not only they have a great pizza, but those people are nice. You know, that dental office, when I walked in there, they said hello to me. Wow, that accountant, not only did he save me taxes, but he explained something I didn't really know because he really cared about me. And there you go. And you'll be happy. You'll succeed. So now is the time to apply, and now is the time to do. So I hope that you've enjoyed this section of A Time for Truth. And if you want to contact me, if you have questions, if you want to know how to apply this a different way, atimefortruthshow@gmail.com. You can email again, atimefortruthshow@gmail.com. It's been a pleasure. I hope this helps tremendously. Email your responses. I'd love to hear from you. Have a very good night.
This show was sponsored by A Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet